Hey guys, it's Chloe. Welcome back or welcome to my channel. So I've been building up my Toyota Tacoma for over 3 years now, and I've done a lot of aftermarket installs to it, but now looking back, I definitely would change the order of things I bought and have installed on my truck. Some things are more useful and functional than others, and what I personally found is that armor like skid plates, rock sliders, and bumpers are things I wish I had sooner on my truck. For example, I recently installed this set of full skid plates on the Tacoma, but in my situation, had I prioritized doing that like a year or two sooner, I could have prevented some, not major damage, but some dents, dings, and scratches. While I've done a lot to my truck, the build has stayed pretty close to the stock configuration as Toyota designed it. I've done a minor level lift and I have slightly larger tires, but comparatively to how you can build these trucks, I consider my build relatively mild, if that makes sense. So in this video, I'm going to go over armor for the Toyota Tacoma that I personally think is essential if you're similar to me in that you have kind of a beefed up version of a stock truck. I'll show you my sliders, my front bumper, my skid plates, and I really want to just talk through which out of those has been the most protective and I've gotten the most use out of, so that you can make an informed decision of whether you think you need that piece of protection on your truck or not. Real quick before we get started, I wanted to tell you guys about a contest that's going on with my friends at Havoline who are giving away $500 cash and the opportunity for you, and your ride of course, to be featured in a video shoot with Havoline. So to enter this contest, all you have to do is basically submit a small story about your favorite vehicle or favorite vehicle project. For example, if I was entering, I would write about my Toyota Tacoma, how I got it in college, and started to go on mini adventures and bought modifications and slowly started building it up into the rig it is today. Or maybe I would talk about my 1992 Land Cruiser, which I randomly found online one day and decided to buy it on a whim, and now I'm fixing it up and building it into an adventure-ready trail rig. So basically anything like that, and there will be a link in my description down below to enter this contest. It will be open until September 20th. At that time, Havoline will pick the top 5 entries and then we will get to vote on the final winner. Again, $500 and the opportunity to be featured in a lifestyle video is a really cool opportunity in my opinion. It is free to enter, easy to enter, and hopefully you guys will take advantage of that if you're interested. Okay, so now let's get to talking about my armor. So I'm going to go in order of what I have personally found to be the most useful to the least useful when it comes to skid plates and armor and rock sliders and everything like that for your truck. Starting out with the most useful, in my opinion, a front skid plate. And you can see I specifically have the TRD aluminum one. This is actually an OEM part from Toyota, and you can see I get pretty decent use out of it. Pretty good protection considering I don't do anything too crazy with my truck. So you can see that this alone helps out a lot. So if you get a TRD Pro or TRD Off-Road when it comes to the 3rd generation Tacoma, you do already get a front skid plate that's made out of steel, although it's really thin, and I've seen a lot of people have it like crumple in the second they hit something, and it doesn't look to be very protective. This aluminum one might even actually be heavier than that one. It's definitely thicker for sure, but I haven't heard anyone really complain about this one. When you're looking into getting a front skid plate, what I highly recommend is looking to make sure it has a cutout so you can remove the oil filter, or your mechanic can at least get to your oil filter without having to take the entire skid plate off. And then also towards the back, there is a hole cut out to access your drain plug. So the TRD skid plate has all of those features. It's worked out really well for me for over 3 years now. It's been extremely protective, still easy to do maintenance on your vehicle with it. The only thing I have to say is you can see up here that there's a couple of cutouts for debris to basically fall through, but everything is closed back here, which makes sense, but just know that you're going to get a lot of sand and debris and dirt and stuff that's just gonna sit there. And even when I've done my oil changes, I noticed that some of the oil will drip onto the skid plate and pool there. It's not that much and it doesn't matter at all. But yeah, over time debris builds up. So every once in a while I like to take it off and give it a good clean. But other than that, it's a great skid plate. Okay, so the next most useful piece of armor I've had on my truck are these rock sliders over here, and I got them about a year into owning my truck. And prior to that, if you guys have been around for that long, you may know that I originally had these Nerf bar side steps, which I got because they were on the truck when I bought it at the dealership. So real quick, what are the differences between rock sliders and say side steps like those ones? Well, for one, rock sliders mount to the frame of the vehicle, whereas side steps or Nerf bars mount to the body of the vehicle. The primary purpose of those side steps is obviously to aid you into getting into the vehicle, and the primary purpose of rock sliders are to add protection to your vehicle, and they can actually support the entire weight of the vehicle since they mount to the frame. However, both rock sliders and side steps serve multiple purposes. So for example, if someone swings out their door and they're not looking and their door is low enough, they will hit your rock sliders rather than your doors or your side steps, and that will prevent you from getting body damage. Rock sliders can also be used as side steps to get in the truck as well. In some cases, side steps can also be minimally used for off-road protection. However, like I said, rock sliders can support the entire weight of the vehicle, making them an optimal choice for off-road protection. The reason I got rid of the side steps, even though they were more protective than having nothing on my vehicle, was that they hang low, and therefore anytime I did any sort of even minimal rock crawling, I would scratch up those steps like crazy. Also, the ones I had, I hate to admit it, but they were pretty low in terms of build quality. Like the powder coat chipped just from my tires kicking up rock, even though I have mud flaps. They started to get a lot of surface rust, and I figured I could benefit from a pair of rock sliders instead, so that's what I went with. Another advantage of rock sliders is that you can use a high lift jack on them. They are more expensive than side steps, of course, and they're a little bit more involved to install, especially if you get the weld-on kind. Mine are just the bolt-on, but overall, rock sliders were a really good choice, and I am very happy with this piece of armor. And in a little bit, I'll show you a little walk around, and you can see that I do have a little bit of damage on my sliders, but that would have been body panel damage, so they've been really protective for me. These ones that I have here on my truck specifically are from a company called Fab Zone Armor, who's local to San Diego. I did that because A, I wanted to support local business, B, I heard Vong, who is behind building these rock sliders, is an amazing guy and an amazing fabricator, and C, shipping rock sliders is kind of a nightmare, especially if you get them powder coated. A lot of times during shipping that can get damaged, so it's a good idea if you're gonna get them shipped to get them shipped raw, and then afterwards have a local powder coat shop do the powder coating for you. So local pickup was a lot easier for me. If you can't find someone local, I would highly recommend companies like Cali Race LED. They make lots of different sliders with lots of different options. Like mine over here have a kick out, which is what you see towards the back here, but with the Cali Race LED ones, they have options where you can get it without the kick out. You can get them more low profile, I believe also at different angles. Westcott Designs is another really good company to get them from, and I'm sure a lot of you guys in the comments down below can talk about what sliders you have and why you like them and where they're from and everything. So as I mentioned earlier, on this passenger side over here, you can see I've got a couple of dings. I can't specifically remember where these are from. I would have hit my body panel instead, so good thing I had these. I also noticed that I haven't gotten any door dings ever since I've had these sliders on for the past 2 years, so that's been a big plus. I have a whole video of me installing these sliders if you guys are interested. I give more information about them and I show you the install, so I'll have that link down below if you want to watch it. Now I'm back to talking about skids because I've got more than just a front skid plate protecting the undercarriage of my truck. Now I have a set of full skids on my truck except for a transmission skid because I have a catalytic converter shield covering that up already. So when I say full skids, I mean I have a kit from Calibra's LED that basically comes with a set of lower control arm skids, a transfer case skid plate, and a gas skid plate as well. This is my transfer case skid plate, and you can see here's the cat shield I was talking about a second ago. But see how this part that hangs low, that covers, I think, the exhaust pipe that also hangs low? It has taken quite a beating, and these skid plates are relatively new. They're less than a year old. So clearly, I'm really happy with this one over here. The skids for the lower control arms are right here. By the way, all these skids are just bolt-on, so they don't require any cutting or anything, which is nice. Super easy to install. I have a whole video on that as well. And then the gas tank skid is over there. Now, of those three, just by visually looking at them, the transfer case skid plate appears to be the most useful. The same for me is kind of true with the lower control arm skid plates so far because again, the skids are pretty new, they're unmarked, but I remember when installing them and taking a look underneath my lower control arms, there were lots of scratches. Nothing actually important got damaged, it was just all cosmetic, but obviously we want to prevent that too because of rust over time. But basically what I'm trying to say is that the scratches give a good indication of what parts of the truck for me actually need to have a skid plate over it, and so the lower control arm skids are definitely useful as well. The gas tank skid hasn't had any hits for me so far. Previously, the OEM one is just plastic. That one was pretty scratched up, but nothing bad. This one from Calibra's LED hasn't taken any abuse yet, but I really like its design because it's got a bunch of holes, so basically debris and stuff can't channel up and get stuck there. It has a place to fall out. Having full skids, as you can see from my truck, are definitely useful, but I would say that if you're not planning on doing any sort of off-roading in your truck, you can probably skip these. They really take a beating on the trails and definitely not from normal on-road driving, but they do come in clutch for those times I'm off the pavement, which is why I have them on and I'm very happy with them. So yeah, that's why I rank these behind the sliders as well as the front skid plate. I think those two are personally more applicable and more useful to more people. If I were to start my build all over again, sliders and the front skid would be the very first thing I get, but full skids would come shortly after just because I do like to go off-road, and you guys can see they clearly are protective. The last piece of armor I have here on my truck is this front steel bumper. This bumper is from 4 Wheel Parts Factory and it's their low profile one. As you can see, it's got a ton of features, like it's got this bull bar in the front here that doesn't cover up any of the cameras or the sensor, of course, anything on the grill, but this is meant for extra protection. It's got these holes where you can actually, I believe, mount a 20-inch light bar over here, which I think is a good utilization of space. Obviously, I have the 2 cube lights mounted, so this is extra lighting for my truck, which I'm really happy with. Behind the license plate over here, there's also a cutout for a winch. I would like to get that, however, I would have to relocate my license plate. In California, you have to run a front license plate, and even though I see basically every other car not run a front license plate in California, I have been the fortunate one to get a ticket before for not having my front license plate. So whatever on that. But anyways, yeah, you can fit a winch actually in the bumper and there's a cutout for it. And then of course you can add some D-rings for extra recovery points. Fun fact as well, 4 Wheel Parts also sells these extra wing cutouts that you can add, and so this is like your base bumper, and I can always take those 2 pieces and add them on to make this, I think it's called a full width bumper since it covers the width. You do have to obviously cut to make those fit, but then again I had to cut around this piece in order to make this bumper fit. And if you're curious and want to see me struggle with the hardest install I've ever done on my truck, I will link this bumper install video down below. Now, I really like the look of this bumper. It's got a pretty factory appearance, if that makes any sense. It looks like it's pretty well integrated with the truck and not like it's any crazy sort of aftermarket accessory, which is personally something I like when it comes to like styling and appearance on the Toyota Tacoma. Another big reason that I went with it over other bumpers were the available options it had that I mentioned before. Again, those cube lights. I really want to add a winch at some point, but honestly, I have to say, and maybe this is just because I personally am pretty mild with this truck, but I don't think this bumper has ever taken a hit. My front end is lifted to level out the truck with my Fox shocks, so I do have more ground clearance up front and there's less chance of this actually getting hit and making contact with something. And not to say, of course, that this bumper isn't useful when it comes to actually protecting like a bumper itself. I just haven't 100% utilized it in the way it's designed, I think. It just hasn't been super necessary in terms of protection like I thought it originally would be. So right now I honestly have to say that it's mostly just been here for styling. It's there if I need it for protection and also to hold my extra cube lights, which is a big plus. But this bumper wouldn't be high up in my priority list when it comes to just strict protection. Again though, nothing wrong with the bumper. I do love it. I just think get your skids first and get your rock sliders first. So I hope you guys found this video useful. Again, to quickly recap, in the order of things I would find the most useful when it comes to aftermarket armor accessories to least useful would be first, get a front skid plate. I really like the TRD one. Second, a pair of rock sliders or even a set of side steps if you're not interested in getting rock sliders can really help out as well. Third, a set of full skids really comes in clutch if you're doing any sort of off-roading because a lot of those components hang pretty low, especially if you have a minimal lift on your truck like I do. And fourth, looking into a bumper can help as well, although the other three I think are more of a priority when it comes to actually protecting the body panels and protecting the overall truck itself. That's my list for based on how I use my truck. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to connect more with me, you can follow me on my Instagram. It is at ChloeKuoTaco. I post more on there in real time. But other than that, make sure you check out the Havoline contest. Again, link down below. It's free to enter, and I wouldn't say no to cash and being featured in a video with Havoline. So be sure to take advantage of that before September 20th. Thanks again, and I hope I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.